When I started running, I had a pair of old running shoes and a Garmin that I'd borrowed off a friend. My Strava was a very, very simple place. I had one follower, Richard, who was the one who loaned me the Garmin. He is entirely responsible for my love of running now. And then I started watching running films and I started following the athletes from them. And then Strava recommended friends on Facebook who also run. And over the years, my Strava feed has evolved. I follow friends and colleagues at work. I follow runners that I train with at the club. I follow elite athletes and I follow runners from YouTube. And when it comes to social media, I'm a big fan of Strava. The lack of adverts and the subscription-based business model, which seems to be more focused on helping people become better athletes rather than trying to sell them something. Like, obviously it's not perfect, but social media, as far as social media goes, that's a massive compliment. But more and more I find myself falling into the hole of comparison and comparing myself to other runners on Strava. And over the last 7 years, I've been trying to become a better, stronger runner. And I've succeeded in doing something that I thought would never be possible, running 100 miles. Like, that was a massive, massive bucket list moment for me. But I've also been trying to get faster. And in the last 3 years, I hadn't broken my 5K PB, despite constantly trying to become a faster, better runner. And last month, I finally broke my 5K PB. I knocked 15 seconds off my PB. 15 seconds in 3 years, not exactly impressive. And I'm regularly seeing runners on Strava going out there and smashing their PBs, running faster times, running 5K PBs, and seeing that progress that I desire so much for myself. And so I definitely get a lot of envy when I see other people who seem to kind of effortlessly break their PBs. And yet when I look at my own training, I seem to be able to run a hell of a lot without getting any serious injuries. And I regularly talk to my friends and they say, oh, I wish I could run as much as you could without getting injured. And we all know that Strava is not a fun place to be if you're injured. And so I totally get that some people probably look at my training on Strava and think the same way about how I feel about other people breaking their PBs. And I really relate to that phrase that comparison is the thief of joy. And it doesn't matter in what aspect of life, comparison, whether it's work or running or social media, comparison always makes you miserable. And it's definitely the worst part of social media. And so recently I've been trying to change my relationship with Strava. A few years ago, I just stopped using Facebook and Instagram just because of how it made me feel, and I just didn't feel like I was getting anything out from using those platforms. But I don't want to stop using Strava. I love watching other runners prepare for big events and following their training in the build up to it. And there's something super satisfying about seeing somebody run a 100-mile race and scrolling through their kilometer splits on Strava and just seeing how long it goes. It just keeps on going. And seeing runners from the club go out and smash their PBs when they've been grinding out sessions week after week after week. It's super inspiring. And I love following YouTubers on Strava. It really brings somebody's journey to life when you can see the training they're putting in day after day after day. And it kind of brings their training and their journey to life in a way that YouTube videos never do. And so I wanted to kind of come up with some approaches that would help me change my relationship with Strava. There are definitely certain features in Strava that I'm just gonna stop using. Like on the desktop app of Strava, there's a feature that when you look at somebody else's profile, it compares your personal bests against the other runner. And that's exactly the opposite of what I want when I'm on Strava. I really wanna stop comparing my personal bests to others. I wanna stop comparing my training to others and my racing to others. Like when it comes to running, everyone has such a different background. Like you look at somebody's Strava and it may look like they've only been running for a year or two, but they might have grown up running track and basically have an elite running form and they're just rebuilding their fitness. And other people might be starting running from a position where they've never been active. They've never had a history of running or any other training. Like I grew up playing football. I spent maybe 12, 15 years playing football every week. And then in my early 20s, I spent my years windsurfing, wakeboarding, snowboarding, and I started running in my mid-20s, and I've been running for like the last 7 years. So my body is used to that stress of physical activity. But I definitely don't have like an elite running form. It's definitely more of like an ultramarathon shuffle. But the point is, you can't just compare two runners against each other, even if it looks like they're doing the exact same training. And I don't want to be doing that comparison with myself and others when I'm on Strava. So instead, when I go on Strava, I'm trying to use it more for inspiration rather than for comparison. When I see other people break their PBs, it's getting me really excited for going out and trying some races in the near future. And I keep seeing people go out and running these big ultra marathons, and it's getting me excited about going and running different events, different races. And it's funny because it's not actually the elite athletes that often where I find most inspiration. It's quite often in the people who are much more similar to me, just everyday average runners. And that's one of the things I love about YouTube, that you can follow runners who are not elite athletes. They're just normal people who are going and running crazy events like UTMB. And yeah, it's wild to think that one day I might be able to run a big mountain 100-mile race like that. Yeah, it's very, very inspirational to see other people go out and do it. And Strava's great for looking out for new races. I'm definitely somebody who's so far looked at local races that are convenient, that are run by the big race organisers in the local area. But I'm looking forward to kind of exploring out and trying some bigger races that are a bit further from home, bit smaller organisers, bit more rough and ready. And another area of inspiration is seeing what sessions people to do. When people are training, they're doing speed sessions, threshold sessions, and marathon or half marathon paced sessions. Seeing how people approach the structure to different sessions, just a great place to find inspiration for new sessions to kind of mix things up. Another thing, I've been trying to kind of celebrate the small achievements as much as the big ones. You know, it's obviously great when somebody goes out and smashes a big 100-mile ultra marathon or runs a marathon PB and knocks 10-15 minutes off their PB. But then there's also those smaller successes, like when somebody comes back from injury and finally starts rebuilding their fitness back up. And you know, nobody likes to be injured, so I always loved seeing that on Strava, when you see somebody who's not been training for a while and they're starting to come back and rebuilding their fitness back up. I'm also trying to use Strava a bit less. I have got into a bit of a habit where I'm looking at Strava way too often. You know, I need to get back to a habit of, I don't need to be looking at Strava every single hour of the day. You know, I'm not gonna miss some big event if I'm not looking at Strava regularly. You know, if somebody does have a big PB or runs a big race, I'm gonna find out next time I talk to them. If it's some athlete that I'm following, I'm probably gonna see something about it on another social media platform like YouTube. I've always historically used Strava for analysing my own personal training, but I've never really felt like it visualized my data exactly how I want it to. And even in the premium versions of the app, it never quite met my needs. So I'm currently in the process, and it's very like early days and rough and ready, but I recently integrated my training with Notion, and I'm playing around with that to try and create my own personal visualizations. All very work in progress at the moment, but the idea is to have my training plan and my actual training in the same place so I can see the comparison of the two. But I think taking that training analysis away from the more social media side of running will, I think, just help me focus on, look, this is why I'm going to Strava, this is why I'm going to my Notion account. And I think just separating that training analysis and the social media side of running will just help me kind of really appreciate why I'm going to Strava, what am I using it for. But my major takeaway from this is that I don't follow these athletes to beat them. I'm not following them to compare my times or to get joy when I run a time faster than theirs. I'm following these people to be inspired by their successes, to celebrate when they achieve their goals, whether they're big or small. Yeah, to find inspiration and joy in the success of others. And Strava can be amazing for that. But yeah, let me know what you think. All right, well, cheers for watching.